whatever milestones that Black people make against hate, it ends up benefiting all the other people of color. I can't see what his end game is. The Republican Party is the party of racism, is the party of white supremacy, is the party of hate. This is wrong, and it needs to stop.
Everybody wants to go back and drag that piece of history up, but they don't want to go back and deal with what their ancestors did to the indigenous people and to Black people in this country. You got to go. And you got billionaires talking about going to space and Jeff Bezos. Go. Never come back. I hope you get lost. This man has lost his mind.
Come on, girlfriend. What is up, everybody? It's Dr. Vibe here, host and producer of the award-winning Dr. Vibe Show, the home of Epic Conversations. And I'm the host of Epic Conversations, 2020 Best Podcast News Award winner, and 2018 Innovation Award winner given out by the Canadian Ethnic Media Association. I also co-host and co-produce the only online show in the world for dads and fathers that is sponsored by Dove Men Plus Care. And part of that collaboration last year got me reaching out to over 100,000 dads and fathers around the world last year, and going to look at the same number this year. So we're hitting for it. We're hitting for it. As always, I like to say you're blessed, highly favored, a magnet for miracles, and a solution for someone's problem. And it is Saturday in September. We are here in September. Again, I love my Earth, Wind, and Fire song, but I only sing in the shower and in the car by myself. So you're not going to hear any Maurice White imitations from me. It ain't happening. It ain't happening. So, as always, I'd like to say thank you so much for joining us. I think we're back to Saturdays now for our epic conversation called State of Things with Aisha and Jill. And we got to announce it right off the bat, but thank you for everyone who's coming here. Let me bring up the guests, the stars of the show. So, Lady 1, Lady 2, Lady 2. What's going on? Hey, what's going on, ladies? How we doing?
I didn't go to jail this week.
Oh my gosh.
Sorry. Oh my gosh, what a stoke, eh? All right, well, that's a good thing.
Great start.
Yeah, I didn't go to jail this week. How nice. So why did you almost go to jail?
You know, being a single mom is difficult.
Yes.
And when you have a co-parent who does not believe in contributing financially, it is difficult. And when there's a stepmom involved, it's even more of a challenge.
Oh,
so
nice.
I'm proud of myself. I only called her Karen once this week.
Oh, no.
And I persevered. I can't blame anyone else. I'm the one that went and made him family. So,
ooh, yeah.
Wow.
I'll put some bail money aside for you.
I know.
no, I keep some just in case. I've been doing that since 2005. So,
Oh boy.
Wow. That is an episode in itself. Co-parenting in the 2022.
It is.
I think that's a whole conversation in itself. Welcome, Black Beauty, and I'm happy to be here with all you guys. We're happy to have you, Cinema Canella.
Yes.
I see a full house today. Well,
very full.
It's very full. So Aisha, how was it taking your dear daughter back to school?
Well, it was better. It gets better every year. This year we didn't have a lot of moving to do. We got this, it's a rolling cart that folds, and we took all her stuff up in the elevator in one trip. And it was fine. Of course, the day after, I felt like I always feel when she leaves. And I'm just kind of like, what do I do?
Yeah.
You know, there's nobody around here to talk to. And then after a while, it got better. But it was a transitional period past weekend, because my nephew went to Ghana for the semester.
Wow.
So on Thursday, he left for Ghana. My grandniece, who was here for the summer, went back to Maryland on Friday, and then we took my daughter Saturday. So
Whew.
all the little kitties are gone.
Crazy.
Did you get any rest?
Not yet. I plan on doing so.
Wow.
If I could stop driving up and down I-91, I'll be
right.
Oh my goodness.
A lot of driving.
So how many years left does your daughter have?
She has, after this year, she has one. My nephew graduates from NYU this year.
Wow.
So, yeah.
Whew. A lot of graduations to attend in the near future.
Yes.
Yep.
Excellent.
Nice.
Excellent. Jill, how was your week?
Very hot. It's like over 100 degrees every day here.
Exactly.
So really the main objective has been to stay cool, and it's just going to be like this until Wednesday. And even then it's, who knows what kind of a reprieve we'll get. But yeah, we're really getting slammed with some
but
climate change.
Hasn't it been like that for years now in California? Because whenever I speak to either yourself or other people in California, the weather hasn't really gotten any cooler.
This is the hottest year where it's like 108, 111 in places regularly now. Before it was like 90 something. And that was normal. Yes, it was hot. But, I think parts of Palm Springs were 120, 125.
What? I saw that. Yeah.
Death Valley was over 125. Yeah. So, we're starting to be like Qatar and Dubai and stuff, like out in the desert. And what's really crazy is I just saw a report that they're talking about air travel is going to be so bad because more turbulence because of climate change. The turbulence is going to be, so if you are a person who hates turbulence, you better call your doctor and get some Ativan or some Xanax or whatever you need to fly, because it's not going to be pretty.
Wow. That would be me.
Yeah, it's going to be very ugly. I'm not a great person dealing with, or make sure you don't book the back of the plane as much as pay that extra money to get a little bit of mental peace for a decent seat. Because it's going to, it's crazy. This is hot. Like you get in your car and it's boiling. It's just crazy. Yeah. And then the people who had EVs, like electric vehicles, they're trying to tell them that they have to charge at certain times, not at peak time.
Oh, wow.
So I know that was kind of like the joke for everybody. Like, oh my God, LA just banned the purchase of, you won't be able to buy a fossil fuel car after 2030.
Yes.
But the problem is America is so behind the 8 ball on solar and new energies that the fact that we're sitting here is really because of people who vote Republican and who are not progressive thinkers. And that comes back to them, because the reality is other countries are building like roads that charge as you drive. They've set that up, but not here in America. We're going to bitch about solar energy and all of that stuff. So we'll either die by rising water levels, because, the last sheet in the Arctic fell off the other day. So we're either which increases the sea level a foot, they say. So we're going to either go by water or fire. You tell me which is better. But really, we really waited too long to do so many things.
And you still have states that are waiting. Like we have a 2030 mandate too on the EV buses for schools,
right?
And then 2035 for EV vehicles completely changing over. But you go to that Southern Bible Belt and that Rust Belt, and it's like they can't comprehend driving a car that doesn't use the fossil fuels, but then complain about the smog and all that stuff. It's ridiculous.
Maybe an earthquake will cut across the line and just chop them off.
They're getting
sorry,
Lala.
No, hold on. We can't have that because Lala will drift away from it.
I know.
Crazy. But aren't the earthquakes across the South like getting more intense? My father's like, they keep having them in South Carolina.
Yeah, because they really do say that the Trail of Tears one and right along that one is a really crazy fault. because, and it's so quiet, but it would be a horrific tragedy for that one. I mean, here in California, it's not perfect, but we do build.
Okay, Jill has frozen up. It's all right. We'll continue on. Lala, how was your week? Any earthquakes? Any?
No earthquakes, but lots of thunderstorms. Really, really bad thunderstorms. I'm used to thunderstorms from Kentucky, but it's really been rolling through pretty heavy, like drenching rains. Just the heat after that is pretty unbearable. I literally don't leave the house unless I absolutely have to. So I'm kind of with Jill on that. This whole world, this whole climate change thing, people who are in denial about it are stupid, just plain and stupid about that, because it is happening. It is shifting. No one can breathe in this. And there are a lot of people here that don't even have AC.
Yeah, it is ridiculous, because even the Northeast, it is still in the 90s in September. And that's so rare. That's so rare. Usually by this point, it's like heading to the 80s and 70s, and it's just in the 90s. And every day it's like hotter and hotter and hotter. And then we're on a coast, so we also get the humidity.
Yes,
it is. It's suffocating.
I can't do it. When we first moved here to Florida, it was interesting because I had just gotten my health back on track, and I had started jogging, learned to jog. And I was able to do that in California. I didn't care what time of day it was. Even on the hottest days, I could run. And I just was not thinking. And when we moved here and I started jogging on that first day, I was like, I'm not going to be able to do this. So I had actually talked to a friend. She said, we don't go outside. Don't go outside. So I can't jog outside. It's just too nasty.
All right. So Tamara is saying, hello, guys. I can't believe it's already September. My birthday is coming up on September 11th. Yeah. I'm 1 year younger. I decided to age backwards. Well, I like that. Age back. What an interesting day to have a birthday on September.
I know. Mine is this month, too.
Yeah, that's going to be interesting. Black Beauty says, and hi, Black Beauty. Well said, Jill. Even in the late 1980s, when I lived in Germany for 18 months, the rail and aka Autobahn highway system was advanced well beyond our highways then and even now.
In the construction of highways, like that's when I was talking about driving down I-91, there's this merger in Connecticut, between, it takes you to 95 and 91, and they merge, and they reconstructed it recently, and it looks like a roller coaster, because it makes no sense how they constructed it, right? Wow. And it's like you have to go this way, then up this way, and down and around. It goes from a 6-lane highway to a 1-lane highway, like that. And so there's always traffic backed up, and you would think that this was their modernization. This was recent construction. You would think they would do better.
Yeah. Well, folks,
do we do better here in America? Not much.
Well, that's the other thing too, is that the state can't design the highway system because it's federal.
Yeah.
So that becomes the other problem.
Bureaucracy at its finest. So, folks, if you haven't heard Jill for a few moments, we don't know where Jill is. She froze, and I don't know. I took her out because she was frozen. So hopefully she'll be back in a moment. But everyone else, let's continue on with our conversation topics. First things first. This got a lot of people talking this week. Biden calls 45 and MAGA Republicans a threat to the very foundations of America. Oh my!
And they lost all their cool.
You know what? This speech is kind of like the part 2 of that speech that Barack Obama gave about race when he was running in 2008 after the Jeremiah Wright thing. And then he gave that speech. This is kind of like the second part of that, the sequel of that now, because Joe Biden really took the fact that he took the time to just do a speech focusing on the threat to democracy. It was something that was needed, and it was very skillfully planned, because it came out, he did it after that last survey that said that most Americans this election cycle are concerned about the threat to democracy. See, Republicans have had it wrong. That poll has got to have tripped them up, because they're thinking, oh, the cost of gas, these economic issues, and it turns out that everybody is afraid of what this MAGA cult is doing to the country. It's penetrated the leadership from the local governments all the way to the federal, and the more we see Trump on the defensive and we find out all these things as different pieces of information come out, we realize how much danger we actually are in. That's kind of like what September 11th did for a lot of people. It's like there was the warning, no one believed it until it happened. And then when it happened, it's like, wow, this really is a major threat. And we're here in a country where you have people who believe in a civil war occurring, as not just a civil war that is a race war. And to call them anything but would have been a misnomer on his part. Now, the problem that I do have was the fact that he said he still believes that there are some common sense Republicans. I really don't, because even Liz Cheney thought the January 6th thing was wrong, but voted along with Republicans 99% of the time. So, and the problem with that is that their policies are very dangerous. So she voted for these dangerous policies. And I don't think that we can let her off the hook for that. So what Biden did here was, it was a great speech. It was very succinct in 30 minutes. And the very smart thing was the fact that they leaked a little bit of the speech and let Republicans, Kevin McCarthy, go and kind of, I have never heard a presidential speech where the rebuttal came before the speech. Yeah. That was poor planning and stupid, because he makes this speech and he's like, Joe Biden's going to say this and say that. And Joe Biden went left. And he looked so dumb. He should have saved that rebuttal till after and really saw what the speech was about. But he took these little points and he was completely ineffective. Joe Biden's speech was very effective. And, and there are a lot of people, mostly independents, who really sat and listened to that.
I think that he called it like he should have called it. What I find very interesting about it is the MAGA Republicans once again tried to do the smoke and mirror thing. And immediately, what did they bitch about? He used the Marines to stand behind him, and they just pick everything that they can possibly do that makes no sense, when we clearly can pull the same thing that the orange one did many years ago and did the same thing, and they were applauding for that. So no matter what we say, whether you're conservative or a liberal or whatever, MAGA are their own group. They are a self-contained hate group, and he is their leader. So we do need to stand up and say something. And I'm glad that he finally did. But my question is, what took you so long? Is it now all of a sudden getting ready to be serious vote time? And so now you want more attention on you because it's vote time. But I hope everything that you've said, President Biden, you stand behind and you push forward with, because otherwise we're just going to be blowing in the wind and still continuing to look like we're doing nothing. That's my problem.
Well, we've got Jill back. So Jill,
the electricity went out.
Oh, you're kidding. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, the heat. They're rolling, aren't they?
Yes, they're going to do rolling out for until Tuesday. So, I got to talk fast.
Well, what did you think about President Biden's speech calling MAGA Republicans?
Hey, it was magnificent. That Scorpio, man, there was my Scorpio. Thank God Merrick has turned up, and so has Joe. Those two Scorpios right now have been laying it down, and I'm so happy, because I was very worried. I think that he was accurate in calling them that. Because here's the thing. Usher had a great, no, Usher, not Usher. Who was John Legend had a great quote, which was, or a statement, which was, if you're really upset about being called semi-fascist, it's kind of like you need to do some self-introspection, because if that is upsetting you, you have a problem. You need some reflection here, because you could, it's like they're responding to being called a name that they're answering to. He called this out, but now we see the ones making the biggest stink are the ones who really are answering to it.
Mm-hmm.
You know? So for me, it's like, if it ain't me, I'm not going to be tripping. I'm not a semi-fascist on any level. So for me, I'm just like, this is what it is. But if you call me something, it only becomes that when I respond to it.
Mm-hmm.
So, I think that the problem is that it was about time he said it. I think it's very strategic because it cornered them. It cornered them all with their own fucking weird principles that they don't have any. They're amoral. And to be honest with you, it really put a lot of them, it's holding a lot of their feet to the fire. And I really respected that he finally did that with a lot of them. It was about time. But like I said, if you're tripping and you're responding to it, yeah, most of them are. And the fact that they're clutching their pearls is absolutely ridiculous. It's just going to get worse and worse. And that JD Vance, it's like these people have mental conditions. They have mental problems. And, they have some problems. These that we are starting to see that we have people who are in the role of government who are really disturbed and need to be in they're certifiable. And I hope that really gets highlighted quite properly soon, because it wasn't like he showed direct support to our DOJ, but what he was doing was showing a sense of our government, how it's supposed to be balanced and structured. Mm-hmm. And the fact that these people don't even want a democracy. And, you've got to look at them half crazy. But I do believe that what he did, which is another thing we've often talked about here, is shunning people. That's it. You cannot tell me that these people who have been sitting there with pictures of the Confederate flag or doing Sig Heils or they're not proud to own that? What, they want to be fucking little cowards now, not own what they've been doing for so long? Come on, Laura Ingraham. Let's talk about your father around the dining room table. Apparently, he was a real Nazi, because even the brother of her brother says that he was. And she low-key did a Sig Heil at Trump's, one of his rallies. They all do it, but they're so fucking weak. They don't have the balls to stand up there and do it in public. And they try to pretend that they didn't. So miss me with that bullshit. We're going to hammer you all home, down like that. What's that game when those toads keep popping their heads up and you just, that's what we're doing. We're going to do it all the way to the polls. We're going to whack-a-mole. So peace out, bitches.
This is the funny thing.
Fascists.
They were upset about being called semi-fascist, but not the fact that he called them white supremacists. That tells you all you need to know.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
That tells you everything. When he said it, I was, first of all, that's the very first time that a president has really referred to a political party as white supremacists, right? And so when he said that, and then they tripped on the fascist part of it, they tripped on they tripped on everything else but that, which tells you everything. They, like I said, they are the party of white supremacy. They are. They've become it, they've accepted it, and they love it. And you know what? It's going to be their downfall.
It will.
I hope sooner than later. I think to me, it seems like they are finally getting cornered and being called out, and it needs to be said. I mean, they're up in Pennsylvania now, doing the same thing with Trump. I mean, they're out there now with the signs and the high signs and the swastikas, and still yet they're out there talking about they're not. Well, there you.
Oh my God, it's about time.
Where you are.
I did some work in Pennsylvania, and and I was. I just got to say that when I go to and it was doing real estate actually. So if I went as in disguise, low key white woman, oh my God, I heard everything about who they didn't want in the neighborhood, what they didn't want, and all of it.
That's right.
Pennsylvania is a very racist town. And yeah, they're humble at heart, but let's not forget, even on Walton Mountain, there were a few people who were like mean to those black people when they moved in. So we're saying across the board, just because you're from humble beginnings doesn't mean you're an asshole white supremacist, because that has gone a long way in America. Just that in itself. I grew up with Ku Klux Klan around me. So I will not miss a moment to talk about that and what that felt like. Just knowing certain places were off bounds, off limits, and that some of the very white people you could actually be interacting with, or their parents or whatever at the school gym, could have some real ill harm to you, which is why probably black folks never let their kids sleep over at other people's houses. When some white kids would be like, come on, let's all go and have a slumber party. Black folks were a little bit more hesitant about letting their kids go out to people's homes and sleep over. That was not a very common thing, but as I've gotten older, I kind of understand why. You don't know who somebody's Uncle Pappy is going to be.
That's right.
So,
and you know, the thing of it is that, okay, not all Republicans are white supremacists, but all white supremacists are Republicans.
Yes.
So that right there is the point that he was trying to make. And if you clutched your pearls about that, if you got upset about it, at least Stefanik, that means you are a white supremacist.
Yes.
But they don't like to be called out. You know what I'm saying? That they never have. They're proud to do this mess behind closed doors. They do get a little bold sometimes and come out and take their hoods off. But for the most part, they don't want you to say that to them, even though they want to say that behind their own closed doors. Which has always been very fascinating to me. You had to be a punk in the first place by putting something over your head so that nobody could see you, but we know who you are because we know your voice. And I too, Jill, grew up in the same situation where I was not allowed to go to people's houses.
Yeah.
And there was a certain line that we did not cross. There were certain counties we did not cross. And it was very clear I was not to do that. So I just see that this isn't going to end until something massive happens. Once again, I really feel like the ashes are going to have to be burned all the way down before a phoenix is going to rise, because you cannot put something back in a box once it's been released.
Well, they got a surprise coming because they've underestimated their adversaries.
Well, not only that, but it's like it won't change until the media starts shunning him. The media stops covering him. I wrote this tweet to someone the other day. We only have one president at a time. Okay, that's what our law says. We can only have one. The fact that the media still refers to Donald Trump as President Trump is a problem. It's feeding into that whole thing of him saying that the election was stolen and that he's the rightful president and should still be put in office. But they refer to Barack Obama, Bill Clinton, George W. Bush, and Jimmy Carter all as ex-presidents or former presidents. That's why I love Nicole Wallace. Every time she talks about Donald Trump, she calls him the disgraced, twice impeached ex-president. Right. Every time. And that is how people should refer to him. He is the former president, because it's like, I don't even understand why the media covers him to the degree that they do. This both siding everything. You're not doing both sides. You're telling us more. We're hearing more about this BS than we do about the things. How is it that we did not know about this indigenous woman running in Alaska back in June? Right. We just found out now because she won.
That's right.
But we should have known before. But no, they made the decision. They're going to cover. I mean, Trump can burp the alphabet and they will cover it. It doesn't matter. And it's sick, actually.
Well, they're going to burp his demise. Okay, they want to catch that.
Let me just cut some comments here. Regina saying 100% Aisha, the problem for Republicans is that 45 will get indicted and they will have nobody to blame but themselves because the leadership knows what he is. Cowards.
Totally.
Black Beauty is saying I agree. President Biden called it like it is. But remember, the Republican MAGA cult's always going to play victim. Yeah, I saw
But if
a
we
lot.
stop giving them oxygen, they won't have they won't have, who are they going to bitch and complain to if we cut off the spigot? They just like turn it off.
Right.
Well, it's interesting because I saw your girl, Marjorie Taylor Greene, wanting an apology because she feels now that her life's being threatened. But I did see another story how 45 called the Democrats terrorists or something like that. They've got actually video.
He's called us fascists too.
Yeah, he's
Considering
Antifa
like,
is.
and these people, Antifa, and they have the stupidity to call people fascists for anti-fascism
Or snowflakes. Remember, that was the other thing.
You know, but I'll go one better. They're a bunch of snow roaches, you know. So there. I heard somebody call them snow roaches.
I sent you that along like about a year ago.
Snow roaches.
You know,
my list of things.
So family, don't you wish you had some intel on the conversations that Jill and Aisha have outside of here? I know
we have to chat. I've been so busy the last couple of weeks.
Me too.
I know, because I always get fascinated on some of the stuff they tell me offline of what they go. Oh my goodness. I
text Jill last week. I was like, I'm so tired I could cry. I was literally sitting in my chair crying because I was that tired.
Oh,
I was like, I need to tell somebody. I'm so tired I could cry. Jill's like, go to bed.
Yeah, like go to sleep. Like seriously.
Go to bed.
I felt like a newborn baby. You know when babies don't want to go to sleep and they're dog tired, but they feel like they're going to miss something? That's how I felt.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, let's move on to the next. We haven't talked about bless you. What the FBI found at Mar-a-Lago.
Let's talk about what they didn't find because he done took it somewhere else.
I know, right?
What was in those folders?
I'd like to know.
48 folders. I'd like to see
48 folders of missing items.
But Trump did this thing, right, where he actually admitted to having them by saying, "Oh, well, I didn't have them spread out on the floor like that. They took them out." Like, oh, so you admit to having them when
he's an idiot.
You were saying you didn't have anything, right? And so, yeah, he's like, they made me look like a slob. That was the only thing that he could focus on.
Right,
a slob without the papers, bro.
He looks like a slob, and he really bugs him.
They actually put McDonald wrappers around him. They had photoshopped the McDonald.
Did they?
But
oh my God, no!
Yeah,
but they found, what was it? They found 54 top secret or something like that. 48 empty folders and over 10,000 documents, pictures, everything,
press clippings, everything.
Wow, it's like,
yeah,
and it tells you something though. We've been trying to figure out for the longest time what he had over all those Republicans like Lindsey Graham, Kevin McCarthy, all these little scared penny and ass people, and now we know that that this man has been taking intel
on everybody.
And he's obviously been getting intel on other people. What we're going to have to find out is what specifically did he ask for about things about people. But he had that access, and when you see all this, you realize why Joe Biden made the decision that he made, right? Because clearly somebody had to tell Joe Biden, hey, we think this man has these documents because we can't find them. We don't think you should be giving him briefings anymore. And so he was mad because Joe Biden took that away from him. He's the only former president that does not get regular briefings because he can't keep a fucking secret, right? I mean, here's the thing. I tweeted this too, but it's the truth. When Kid Rock did this interview last week talking about how he was at Mar-a-Lago and Trump was showing him top secret stuff that he saw that was classified, different maps and things about North Korea.
He did.
Asking him what he should do, asking Kid Rock what Trump should do about North Korea. Okay. It was insane because you know that he's one of those people, he treated it like a coffee table book. That's why he had them where he had them. It's
Right.
like anybody comes in his office, hey, look what I got. It's like we're in this other world of just high school all the time, and he's trying to be the popular kid.
Yeah, but I think he's
Hoover tried to hide the fact that he was doing all this garbage, but not Trump. Out in the open all day, every day, and then to have nerve enough to say, "Give me my documents back."
Yeah,
That's the part that gets me. Everything clearly was stamped property of the United States, and he thinks it is his. Just like he thought the money of the country was his and went and gave all these PPP loans to people. Just like he thought that the attorney general's job was to be his attorney, not the attorney for the country. He thought the presidency belonged to him, not the office of the presidency. He has no kind of self-awareness outside of his own ego.
I think he knew he was just going to change it. And this is the thing.
I don't think he knew, Jill, because here's the thing. And the reason I say that is because once they said something about a president can declassify anything. That was something that the news media reported. Then he went back and said, "Oh, I declassified everything."
Yeah, but I don't think so, only because there's people that come in and say to the assistant, "Hey, I gave him documents and I need to give them back to the secretary of the military." Like there's people who their jobs are to follow up on that, and their ass is grass if they don't get them back. So that's one question, like, who are those fuckers that had to deal with this? Because towards the end of this tenure of his being in, power, they must have been sweating like bullets, because the reality is they knew. So who had that job? Was it Mark Meadows? Was it whoever? Because if it was somebody who knew, I just don't believe that they did not tell him. Bill Barr even said, nobody's ever done that. And we all know that Donald Trump always thinks he's above the law. That's why he's a sociopath. Because you tell him that's a red light. No, a sociopath knows. A sociopath always knows. They don't care. Big difference.
Yeah, but here's why I don't think he knows. I didn't think he knew, because Mark Meadows was the person who was in charge of that. Mark Meadows avoided telling him things just because of his reaction.
I don't believe that.
Mark Meadows, people would tell Mark, do this, Mark, do this. And Mark was like, yeah, he doesn't want to do it. And he didn't, it's like, I don't even think they didn't have that kind of communication and synergy like we saw with Barack Obama and his chief of staff, and Joe Biden and his chief of staff. Mark Meadows, because remember, Mark Meadows wasn't the first chief of staff. And then when he only got picked because he was this Trump sycophant. So I think it's kind of like with Michael Jackson, that there were things going on that people around him were not telling him.
Yeah, but he was drugged up. This is very different. I'm saying this is the same person. It doesn't matter. He had listened to the fucking tape of Khashoggi being murdered for the one that was on his Apple phone. This is the same guy who gave the go-ahead, like, oh yeah, he's going to be at the embassy, and worked in tandem through his various chains of people to get what he wanted in exchange to massacre and slaughter. This man was killed with a bone saw. Don't tell me that he didn't fucking know. This is a person, he gets by on playing the dumb blonde, and he's not. He's a treacherous, fucking dangerous sociopath. And he has done some heinous things that I think he makes the devil look like a child of God, like an angel. Donald Trump deserves everything that's coming for him, and they better bring that train fast, because he knows he wanted those documents, because God, all we know, we don't really know. It could be Khashoggi's tapes, screaming and dying. What would you find fascinating? What macabre bullshit? He wants to talk about Joe Biden's back set. Did he look at his fucking Christmas trees during fucking Christmas season that his fucking witch ass wife put together? That looked like a fucking cauldron. Those people they call satanic because that's who they are. People, wake the fuck up. This bitch is like out of his fucking tree. that stuff is fodder and entertainment. I'm telling you, if you that is priceless. Selling a bunch of wolf tickets about Khashoggi and his death, and then sitting up there at the end of it being all nice to MBS and stuff. No. At one point, I started thinking this bitch is answering to him. He's Khashoggi. He is MBS's left hand, because for a while he was working with them in mind. I'm sorry, I will never believe that he didn't know the protocol and how things were. What's crazy is he is. There was one guy in the music industry that I know never left a picture behind of anybody anywhere. In fact, spent the last part of the evenings always collecting Polaroids and pictures. Donald Trump's that guy. That's who that. There's people who just think that fucking way. 10 steps ahead of what the possibilities are. Everything is like fucking Parcheesi or backgammon.
But the part for me is that he took to, I don't think he completely understood the responsibilities of the office of the presidency, because he took to it the way you would expect the president of a private company does.
Really? So that's why he said Edward Snowden need to be put to death? That's why he said that WikiLeaks should be like killed? He thought that was okay because they leaked information.
Like I said, he would have said that regardless. But
but it's not. I mean, that doesn't make sense. This is a person who thinks he's above it all. He knows what a leak is.
I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is that there are aspects of the job of the president, and there's protocol, there are the laws that govern the office of the president. He came from private industry and did not appreciate the fact that there were kind of guardrails for how you govern as the president. He flouted every possible, law. He pushed everything to the limit.
He extorts.
I honestly don't think that he completely understood.
This is how he won his divorce. This is how he won his buildings with the bankruptcies. He takes the worst part of the information, and what he does is, most people would hide their sins. He'll put them out on the table for everybody, and he just waters them down. So he'll be the one to deliver it.
He flaunts them. And then that's the thing.
He flaunts it. And then you go, oh, that's not a big deal.
Yeah. Just the same. I mean, take his voice, take his thinking, put it on Barack Obama. Oh my God, they were ready to crucify him over a tan suit.
Yes, it's true.
So no, I'm sorry. I think he got his experience from what he knew that he could get from his business, how everybody coddled him, and all of his sneakiness and all of his planning. So when I do believe he was surprised that he got presidency. I will say that. Yeah. But once he knew that he was going to be president, my man saw dollar signs. Immediately, the first thing I think he thought was, who can I get some shit on today that I can use for power? What can I do to gain more power and money in my life? I don't care about my wife, whatever. I don't care about my kids.
Well, that was clearly the point, though. It was, you could tell that he was going to try and monetize the presidency. That was the intention when he ran. He was trying to make as much money as he possithere could through his super PAC. He didn't expect to win. That shocked the hell out of him. And then when he won and learned, there are all these steps that you have to follow, it's the laziness in him that was kind of like, well, no, I'm the president. I can do what I want. And it's like, no, you really can't, because the law says you can't. Well, I'm the president. I do this, I do that. And that is the part for me that I'm just like, there's that disconnect in his brain to where he sees the word president and he thinks it means you are in control of everything, even all the laws, and you can change the laws and you can change whatever. You are the absolute ruler. And that just happens to not be true. And no one in his camp, he had all these yes men, no one in his camp stood up to say, hey, you really can't do that. And you might not want to do that because you could go to jail. And no one had the courage to say that. that's I think that's a bigger part of the problem than even his understanding, is the fact that no one around him had the courage to even say, hey, this is the law. You have to do it this way. What's the point in having all these people behind you? What's the point in having an administration if you're not going to listen to them? That's why he just threw any old person into any old office and didn't care. It's like, he just like, Ben Carson, black guy. Oh, we'll put him in charge of HUD. That's because they deal with public housing.
Nothing.
That's where all black people live. I'm Trump. I mean, that literally is how he went about governing. And it's scary because if people for 1 second forget how it was those 4 or 5 years, right? The year he ran and the 4 after, in 2024, he will do it again. And we cannot.
Now you and I agree on that. I think the fact that he got in the first time shocked the shit out of us all. We all were crazy.
And that was really just because a lot of people had this animosity toward Hillary Clinton. Let's be clear. It was the candidate that came out on the right. That was like when John Kerry ran. It was the candidate.
Yes.
Al Gore, it was the candidate.
True, but now we're in a different situation. Is going to see the same outcome, because see, all the people who are quiet, it's not the ones I'm seeing out in the streets that I'm so worried about. It's the ones that are behind the closed doors that we don't. The ones that will smile in our face, even say things that are nice and gentle, but once they get behind that ballot curtain, they're checking that Trump box. That's who I'm worried about.
Because those are the ones who screwed us in the first place. And
we're seeing it now. We're seeing it within the elections that just came through, the same situation.
Look, if you don't believe that white women uphold white supremacy, then you're crazy, because they are the ones who voted for that man, 53%. And then almost again this last election. So, I feel like I'm all for voting rights and all this other stuff. On one hand, part of me wants to say, oh, some of these people do not need to be voting. But on the other hand, I know that if I say that, they will extend it to these people.
Right.
All right. Let me catch up. There's been comments as always, so we'll do some catching up to do. Regina says, wonder what the witnesses saw and what security video showed. Welcome as always to Jen. Thank you for stopping by. Regina says, the passports mixed up with the top secret documents points the finger squarely at Agent Orange.
Yeah, what was it with those boxes? He had all this stuff thrown in with that, his passports, clothes.
Yeah.
And then Black Beauty says, I believe 45 takes extra elaborate efforts to pretend he doesn't know the rules, because pricelessly nefarious.
So he doesn't, but that's the other thing about what they said about, like, even the presidential briefings that they gave him every day. Someone recently said that they were told to do more pictures, less words. For him to not know, for him to have to know what the job of the president was, would mean that he would have to read that. He would have had to read that big booklet binder thing that they give to the president when they first come in office. And a long time ago, Mick Mulvaney said that he didn't read it. So the man really didn't know, because he didn't take the time. It was below him to even take the time to try and research and read and learn about it. I don't think that he didn't care to. Why? Because he had no interest in governing. His only interest was in making contacts and blackmailing people.
Regina continues and says, the two impeachments are small beans compared to selling confidential security documents to foreign nationals. True. And Black Beauty says, 45 as well as sociopaths are extremely clever predators. Bottom line, he knows the rules, laws. He just doesn't care. And part of his MO is exploitation.
Yes, very true. I mean, I feel like just because somebody wants you to, I've worked with people who were in the corporate world, sad to say, who were like, fast, just put it up. I want to know, blah, blah, blah. Get cut to the chase. You know what I mean? Now, that's from business people that have worked in it too long and have earned their money. And he took that into the White House for sure. But I do believe that he thought he had a staff that they knew it, so they should
Right.
be just bringing it to him. But here's the crazy thing of all is people who are that charismatic, and I'm not sticking up for Donald Trump on this level. A lot of times, if they don't, that it's a tremendous leap of faith to trust people when you don't know a little bit about what you're going into. And that was his mistake, one of his big mistakes. He didn't really know the capabilities of anybody. And some of the shisty little like friends he has, like the little white-haired dude and all that, they're little mangy friends. He's got his mangy side friends. Yeah. And, Giuliani and all of them, they knew, he thought they would be a guiding principle, but they were dastardly things that they were doing. The problem is that it didn't, then you have these tried and true people who went through politics school and they're all political and they're all blah, blah, blah. And Trump knew how to dismantle them. He knows how to get under the skin of a Lindsey Graham or of all of them.
I don't know.
He knows. But what was crazy, or Mark Meadows, who becomes so inept, Bill Barr, who is the AG, who's totally impotent and can't guide this ship directly, is too afraid to say anything. These are like not leaders at all. We had no leaders. And Trump makes sure he never put a leader in any agency in this whole fucking anything that he ever does.
Well, remember, he wanted all those people to
leader.
He wanted all those interim people and not people.
Right. He is the leader always. He will never give anybody that. And if he ever puts a leader in, you've got to know that they're incompetent. It would be like, that is the trick of the trade. You make sure you put somebody who is absolutely the worst for the job. And he did that. And, it's unfortunate.
It seems like his whole presidency was kind of like fake it till you make it.
I agree.
It's like, I'm going to fake competency and hope nobody else realizes that I'm incompetent. And then he opens his mouth.
And then he thought that good for the presidency.
Every time.
He started making it seem like he was too good for the presidency. Right. He and his skanky ass wife, who thought it was beneath her to be there.
Yeah, but you know how you like when you have little kids and stuff, and it's like, oh, I didn't eat that chocolate candy bar, and they got chocolate all around their mouth. Yeah, that's what he reminds me of a lot of times. Like, wait, dude, you got caught with these documents. I didn't put those documents out there. I didn't have them like that. They were in the drawer.
He's a cold piece. I gotta say, he's a cold piece. The fact of what he allowed to happen to Jamal Khashoggi is absolutely unforgivable. And on that note, he could, in my mind, should go straight to hell.
But yet you've got his supporters who's just right beside him.
It was horrible. There was no.
Every time he comes out, it's Jedi mind trick. I didn't do that.
But to wonder what the hell did Jamal have on that family? It's and all of these people in world domination.
Yep.
That was your what did they talk about, the Illuminati? Those bitches with their hands on the ball. That there it was right there. That was it.
I mean, I really want to see what he has on Lindsey Graham, because it's not his sexuality. I mean, that's like an open secret. That's an open secret in South Carolina.
No one cares. Yeah, nobody cares.
I lived in South Carolina. Everybody knew that. Nobody did not know.
Stealing money, I would say. Stealing money has to be the most dogged thing. If they could find and track that Lindsey has billions somewhere, that would be the only thing, because people only get upset these days over fucking money. They don't care about kids getting killed. They don't care about any of it. They don't. Yeah, think about that. It has to be money.
It has to be strong enough.
White rich people,
Graham tried to influence another election, right? And that Lindsey Graham is willing to become a subject of an investigation.
Exactly.
He risked it all for Trump.
Lindsey's been brokering the deals, Aisha. I bet Lindsey, he has been in it the longest and has access to a lot of, he knows how the games are run. He knows the structure. I believe he's an arm to this whole fiasco that's going on with those documents. I believe that he liaised and is doing stuff And that's why he's really throwing his body full force on the railroad tracks, honey. And you got to go, why? What is this? Because Lindsay's been playing all ends against the middle probably for a very long time and is very wealthy.
All right, let's move on. Next
I think
conversation
you're right,
topic.
Aisha.
The rhetoric of violence being normalized by the right. Aisha?
Again, Mr. Graham, when the fact that he makes this threat of violence, what do you mean if he's held accountable? These people are going to go. Basically, it sounds like they're plotting another January 6th.
Oh, they've been plotting.
All he did was just kind of, point it out. The plans are already they're already in the works, and all he did was just point it out.
He's forewarning us.
You know what? I was listening today, and someone said the only choice when there's a problem when people only see it as either they win or it was stolen, not the fact that they could possibly lose. And that is where this is right now. It's like, wait a second. So basically you're saying either Republican sweep or it was rigged. And so that's the logic they're going to go into. And they know that part of it bothers their people. They know that their people don't like to see the rest of us vote. If they could go back to pre-1965,
they would.
Hell, put it this way, they gutted that part of the Voting Rights Act that would have kept DeSantis from forming his little election police, okay?
Which is backfiring.
They pretty much dismantled the Voting Rights Act. So this idea that, if we don't get our way, we're going to burn the whole damn country down. That part has got to be, it's got to be scary for people. People need to be scared about that because they're not playing when they say, we saw what they did January 6th, right? We saw what they did in Michigan the year before because of the mask mandates. Remember, they were all outside the state capitol in Michigan with their AR-15s and everything in March. They were inside the dome with the AR-15s, right? So I think that to just normalize this language, and it's like every newspaper person, every journalist, TV journalist, when you report on this violence that they talk about, why are you so damn calm? I'm a journalist too. You see how upset I am about this? It's like, no, we can no longer be quote unquote objective media anymore. We have to be subjective. When you have a political party whose idea of fairness is to kill off the people that they don't like, then you don't both sides any of it. You have to just purport the side that is on the right side of history. And right now, this whole thing, this violence is scaling upwards. You know what? People, I warn people about this. I've heard other people warn people about this. Look, the Tea Party is going to be a problem if you don't neutralize them now. And what happened? The Tea Party has morphed into this, whatever it is. I don't even want to call it a movement. Whatever this is, they are the same people. They are the same people. And unfortunately, they brought along a whole bunch more with them. And how do we know this? Because 75 million of them voted for that orange asshole. And that is the scary part. And part of what they say, they're violent in just not just their speech at the rallies and stuff. They're on social media and they're violent. And it's like, you say something about the president being racist. Well, you know what? The first thing those supporters do, especially if you're a woman and a woman of color, is they talk about raping you. These are violent people. And to make this violence and for the media and other people to try and make this violence seem like it's a normal part of life is, to me, the scariest thing. People need to be out in the streets with this because this is going to we've seen what happens when
the country's violent. The country is violent. I had a friend from Australia the other day telling people friends of hers who were coming here, it's a very violent place. Please stay on your P's and Q's. America's violent. I mean, it is quite, I mean, in my feed right now, I don't have issues with people anymore who are doing the whole rhetoric, because I just feel that you can change what your algorithm is saying, and you can kind of just stop acknowledging it. I think it helps the whole vibe of social media when we back off a little bit. I'm never going to change anybody's mind. I went through that, where I used to get in these arguments and long-winded things, and it doesn't work. The only good thing I can say is, if somebody really pisses you off, take about a day, take a screenshot of it, come back when you have some downtime and look at their profile, and then just go report the shit out of everything that they have on their page.
That's
You
right.
know, if you just get it out of your system, but don't say a peep to anybody that you're pissed off at them, but just do as much as you can to kind of squash them and silence them. Arguing with these people,
No, you're
it
never
does,
going to win.
no.
You're never going to win. I mean,
And
we're
loose
seeing
lips
it.
sink ships, right? I just can't do it anymore.
I just never forget. I mean, I think I've discussed this before. I have one friend. I don't even know how in some situations that we do. It's because we can talk. We talk, but I never will forget when he lost this election, and we were together talking at a picnic table, and she literally said, "Well, this was clearly stolen." I said, "Wait a minute, hold on. First of all, since when do y'all start claiming things? Had this been a Democrat, what would you have said to us? Suck it up, Buttercup. You lost."
Right.
But now the shoe is on the other foot, and you want to cry wolf.
Yes.
And I never will forget her eyes when she looked at me. I touched her somewhere in there, because it was this look at me like, oh, I never thought about that.
I think they forgot about the 2000 election.
Oh, I brought it up.
Remember that the 2000 election, and Al Gore went through the Supreme Court. They were all like, remember, and this was just 1,100 votes.
Yes.
1,100 vote difference.
Yes.
Not 6 million like with Trump and Biden.
Right.
And these people were out here talking about, suck it up, you lost. Just get over it. He shouldn't even go to court. Just concede.
And then he put that judge in.
They did that, right. They did that. And remember that Al Gore won the popular vote.
Yeah.
Which meant that he technically had that 1,100 votes.
Yeah.
Over Bush. He had that. And so, and people, put it this way, historians have said that election was stolen. But the people are like, get over it. Get over it. We won.
Exactly.
Get over it.
I mean, the one election,
force them to eat their own cake, they're not going to eat it.
Well, the scariest thing of all was in the middle of them doing some recounts and stuff. I have some friends who work in Kentucky and were in on that count, and they've told me that that the inconsistencies that they found were actually with the Republicans. And that is something that
voted for dead people and stuff like that.
Yeah, but like, for real, there are many, many people who, I've said this before, are very perplexed, and it's starting to get very, very stinky and smelly, like why Rand Paul and Mitch McConnell are representing that state. And many people talked about how all of the polls, most of the polls on election day in Kentucky shut early or had major problems. And they really, really, it was a disaster. And so many people they just say it all over and over, and it happens all the time. But Mitch McConnell needs to pack his shit and go. And Rand Paul needs to go and try to be the eye doctor that he never was, because he really can't see. Bitches who can't see shouldn't be eye doctors. Fuck him. Sorry.
It's my state. Again.
I know it is, but that's where my dad lived. My dad lived down there. My brother lives there. So yeah, like I feel like I'm an honorary Kentuckian here. Like, really, like this, it's got to go. So yeah, we have been normalizing a lot of the violence, but I gotta say that it's still being cherry picked. They really don't want to bring this up. I'm serious. They don't want to bring this because they are going to, it ain't going to be cool.
All right, let me catch up with some comments. Black Beauty says 45 as well as sociopaths are extremely clever predators. Bottom line, he knows the rules, laws, he just doesn't care. And part of his MO, his exploitation, I read that before. And also, not surprised that these monsters believe in normalizing violence. They never stop. Their objective is to take the country back to the past.
She's right.
And oh my, says Jill, you're 100% correct. It's as scary as HELL. So let's move on to our next.
Well, that's one thing, just to say that I had said it never went anywhere. Racism in America. You know, we have been so focused on our culture, which was primarily being held up by the bookends of America, the coastlines, Florida, you know, New York, that whole Eastern board, and then we had the Western board, but nobody was ever dealing with the ones who said, we're forgotten now, nobody loves us. Yeah, there's a reason they were forgotten. And now we see why.
Well,
and
too, they don't make up the
and
bulk of
how
the
about we just forget them again?
But also, too, they forget that they're not the majority of the population. The majority of our population in this country lives on the coast.
But what they've done is, you know, they come in here sucking up food and heat and making all these demands. And the real problem here is, I mean, for me, I really wish that the Democrats would start with this whole buying up the houses and then the housing market and stuff. I really would hope that they start renting out to Democrats in certain areas, if they can figure out how to do that, because that's what I believe a lot of this buying was about with the hedge funds, that they're still going to try to control what's going on election wise and how they're going to gentrify and codify and all of that. Because let's not forget, you know, not to bring up Breonna Taylor again, but, you know, there was a story that came out that said that this was the mayor and his people had a plan to gentrify the area.
Yes.
And it's since come out of the police who went around the back of the house and made the first shot through, which is why the police responded in a barrage of bullets. It was never her boyfriend who shot at them, never. But this was a plan, a very sick, dangerous plan. And, you know, the forgotten places in America are actually quite frightening.
Yeah.
And they've been racist for as long as I've grown up in this country. They just hid it. They were hiding it. And now it doesn't really look back like they're going to go back. That's why I say we got to whack-a-mole. And I really am not a firm believer of, I believe in shunning people. You don't invite their kids over or to parties, y'all got birthday parties. If they're Republican children, don't invite them. Shun the whole, like the Japanese do this. They shun somebody if there's somebody who did something bad in a whole family. I know it's rough measures, but you know, you got to really pick and choose, and you got to be a little bit more. This is not cool what's going on.
Well, what worries me about that, and I agree with that to a certain level, but what really concerns me about that is we are creating the monsters that they are and giving them more power, because the more that you put them behind their closed doors to teach this rhetoric to their children and instill this into them and then to brainwash them into the way they're thinking that they're better than the above, then I think that it's going to be more of an issue later. We're creating bigger monsters.
We get their kids later anyway when they choose to leave home from mom and dad. The liberals always get their kids because they're kids who are curious and want to go and explore the world. But bad associations spoil useful habits. Mm-hmm. I do not believe in fraternizing with people that can bring you down or bring down the party or bring down all of it. I don't. So what do? I mean, I get it. It's a little kid. You don't want to say you can't come to the birthday party, but I'm sorry. I don't want to deal with some of their fucking parents. Mm-hmm. You know, there were times I'm sure my daughter was not going to some birthday parties because some parents didn't like my ass. So I just did the same thing. And that was in New York. But ain't nobody, this is like really serious. Yeah. They do it in other ways. They segregate us. They segregate our kids all the time. The only time, you know, your kids get to, like, you know, from the inner city, go to some of these suburban high schools to play football, and then they leave. You know, it's like they get to pick and choose when they want to, you come and play sports on our thing. They do it. They do it in real estate. They do all of it.
Mm-hmm.
So why can't we do it?
It's
But
never
why can't we
changed.
do
That's
it? It
how
hasn't
the country was
changed.
built.
That's been legalized racism.
Privilege.
That's legalized racism. Gee, I just think I'll just like redline our district and we'll make it so fucking expensive that not one Black person could afford to ever even come here and deliver a newspaper, let alone. So yeah, it's still here. Let's just outprice everybody. Yeah, it's really crazy. And now it's like we don't even want them driving on the street. So we'll just harass them and call the police on them and have a little bit of power over people and make them feel like they're fifth-class citizens, which is what the white Karens were doing. Mm-hmm. They were wielding this power over anybody, person of color, because they knew they could. Mm-hmm. Too many SUV episodes for me, honey.
But you know, going back to this rhetoric issue, I think that it's one of those things where these people have take Lindsey Graham, for example, right? The fact that he had the audacity to say this shouldn't surprise anyone. But what should surprise you is the fact that it got traction. It should not surprise you, but scare you that it got traction among the far right. And what are they doing when they heard that it was a dog whistle, but it was a blatant dog whistle? And what are they doing? They're suiting up and they're getting ready because they're just waiting on the command to do what they did on January 6th again. And this time they're more organized, and it's not going to be just the federal government. It's going to be at every state capital. And
we're taking notes from what they did wrong.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. Because let's be very clear. That wasn't the ultimate plan. That was a tryout. Mm-hmm. That was a tryout. When they do this next go around, it's going to be so sophisticated. And we better do something soon, because these people are not playing. These people want their damn country back.
I don't know.
Look, they think that they look. I'm sorry. They want the country that they stole back.
It wasn't a fair fight, because the next time they do it, there's going to be bullets coming back at them. So there's a big difference here. We don't really know. They really would be optimizing on something that's not founded. That's the whole point of this. Like, they were given the courtesy. I doubt that they will be given that again. I mean, let's never forget the government leveled a whole fucking block in Baltimore once. Don't ever, and I don't care if they're white and they think that it can't happen to them. At this point, they need to consider that it might, because I watched Waco, Texas. I saw what happened with Janet, whatever. They were not messing around. When the United States government has enough of your ass, you will recognize. So that's the difference. They didn't get that this time because we had a president who was acting like a fucking bitch, and he was trying to get, his way. And there was no exchange of power, because remember, Biden couldn't come in at that point. It was January 6th. It was like we were in limbo. But
just look at what they did. I mean, this is a great example. Like, I always hate to use Breonna, but it's a massive turning point for a lot of things. Okay, she had no idea she was going to be a martyr for all this crap.
Of course.
But I remember when the Black organizations, the Black gun owner organizations came in and said, okay, y'all want to come with your guns? We're coming with ours too.
It's true.
And it scared the hell out of all of them. However, the ones who are always in the closets are always ready. Who showed up on the other side? Yeah. What is that going to get us? I don't know.
But just don't be remember, they couldn't even get people to show up at the Capitals on the time they tried to do it again.
Yeah, true.
So they've been cut at the knees a little bit.
I honestly think though that the reason that didn't happen at the different capitals, because first of all, I remember the one they were supposed to have in Connecticut. They were all planning on meeting in an IKEA parking lot. IKEA shut that down. IKEA said,
Yeah, but they
No.
were supposed to do it in all major cities,
Right.
and they couldn't do it.
Right.
First of all,
think the
people
difference
can't
is,
be
though,
fucked to get up and go. I'm telling you, they've overestimated their people.
But
They
see,
don't give a shit.
I think that the difference between that and this
They're
was
okay on this,
that,
but they ain't about showing up.
but it was
Most of them
about
got
the
fucking inflammation.
yeah,
Can't
but I
get
don't
up.
think that they were as organized as they were January 6th when
Absolutely
they began to
not,
state
yeah.
things. I don't think that they were as organized. And remember that the direction for January 6th, as we know, came from the top down.
Of
With,
course.
with those individual state things, that was a bottom up kind of thing. And so I really think that that was where that went wrong. But make no mistake, they learned from that too. And so they're going to the next time, they're going to they're going to do something. It's going to be bigger. We need to really
And the
keep our eyes
Capitol
open.
Police are ready for them.
Yeah.
This time, the Capitol Police might not be what they think it's going to be, because
Right.
they killed our Capitol Police.
But
They
you know,
killed
hey,
them.
Blue
Their
Lives
orders.
Matter.
Make no
That's
mistake, the
another
Capitol
thing
Police,
that's unforgivable with
make
him
no
and
mistake,
power.
the Capitol
You think he
Police,
would be
their
on
orders.
his knees crying and saying, "I'm so sorry." He didn't give one flying fuck about not one of those officers. I'm sorry.
Well, the other day he said, "What Capitol Police died as a result of January 6th?"
You know
That was
what?
something that he said for real. It's like
He tries to play too much. That he
Yeah.
couldn't be my man. I beat his ass like every fucking day. Melania is, there's no woman in the world that I respect that would have ever laid down with that dog.
Well, she knew what she wanted. This is what drives
All
me
right,
crazy about people.
we gotta move on, family, because we got some more things to chat about. So let me just catch up. Almighty says, Jill, you're 100% correct. It's HELL. Black Beauty says, I agree with that Aisha statement. They're going to repeat January 6th with a vengeance. And she also says, yep, unfortunately, Aisha's correct. They're coming for us. They are. I'm going to move it on to the next conversation topic, which is the water crisis in Mississippi.
Inexcusable. We
Flint
still
too.
dealing with Detroit.
Flint too.
I went to Mississippi in 2005, right after Katrina, for an Emmett Till conference. And I've never seen poverty the way I've seen it in Mississippi. You still have people who don't have running water. We went to a small town, and like the mayor is sitting in overalls on the front of a storefront, and it's like just the pace of life. But it's you realize, especially down in that Delta area, going towards Jackson and down and further down, this is where all the Black people live in Mississippi. Okay. And remember, Mississippi has the highest concentration of Black people in any state. So make no mistake that this is methodical, it is planned out, and that this problem grew out of a lesser problem. All they had to do 50 years ago was fix their water infrastructure to avoid where we are now. But you know why they didn't? They didn't do it because these Black folks. Mississippi lives to be last in everything in this country. Okay, they're last in education and proud of it. They're last in healthcare and they're proud of it. They're last in incomes and they are proud of it. And so the thing that they most pride themselves on is not changing with the times as fast as the times are changing. They really keep that state in a state of 1955. And so here we are, they've got this 1955 problem in 2022 with the water, right? It's like, at this point, people are better off getting well water than getting the water that's treated from the plant, because all they had to do, the mayor of Jackson told them 3 years ago, hey, you got to do something with this because eventually this is going to happen. And guess what? They chose not to listen to him. Not just because he was a Black man, because he was a Democrat. They are trying to squeeze the Democratic controlled districts in that state out. And it's like, you know what, we'll just make sure that people don't have things they need to survive. Water is essential to life. Okay, they know that 90% of our bodies are made up of water. You don't give people water, they will die. They have no, it's quite sad because, like I said, my nephew's in Ghana. The thing is, he knows he can't drink the water, right? But they're providing people with better water than what they're getting in Mississippi. They can't even get enough bottled water to them. He refused help from other states months ago, because remember, this water crisis isn't something that just
the governor refused.
Right, the governor refused. The same way the governor refused, and the governor has also refused a lot. Him and the person before him refused a lot of FEMA money and infrastructure. They refused the infrastructure money that was earmarked for them to do this work. That's the other thing that should really make people mad. They're in this situation because they refused to take the money. They refused it. And remember, Mississippi is a state that, if anybody's taxes are going to go up to deal with this problem in Mississippi, it's going to be Jill in California. It's going to be me in Connecticut, because our states pay some of the most taxes that the rest of these states, these red states, get to use. Our states don't take back what we put in. We take back a small fraction of what we put in. These other states take back more, much more than what they put in. And so you have this governor here who really, he was warned. They knew about this storm coming in. They knew there was going to be flooding and did not act. And that reminds me a lot of what Bobby Jindal did. I believe it was Bobby Jindal, did during Katrina. Remember, they just, again, the same thing. They knew this was happening, but they didn't make arrangements for the poor people, because guess what? They don't care. Those poor people are Black. They do not care.
But
and in Mississippi, it just makes them happy.
It's a really corrupt place. It always has been. You had, what is it? The former AG, Mississippi AG. They just sentenced a person who, for $4 million, was illegally receiving Medicaid monies, and it was a health insurance company. So they just gave that person like 5 years. Fran Tarkenton, or one of these football players, was giving speeches, and he got like $2 million. He's since returned everything but $200,000 because he's friends with the governor, and he never gave one speech. So they've had money for a long time, and the whole problem with America, and particularly these places, is what I always say: stingy pays twice. They do the bare minimum, and they put Band-Aids on all their issues, because the politicians who were in office during that time devise ways and schemes and projects so that they can pocket the money. That's all it is. So when that PPP money was rolling around, and as Aisha mentions, all this other money was coming, the governor, I don't understand why we just cannot have access to all politicians' bank accounts and every transaction that comes their way while they are serving in office. Every single move. I don't care if it's the transaction of what you pay to get out of the parking lot. I think that your life should be like a glass window that I can see into it every single second, because this makes no damn sense. There has been money given to them. Countless amounts of money.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And they don't know what happened to it.
And they don't. And now, of course, there's no water, because, let's be honest, they didn't resolve. Flint was the same thing that happened. And, Obama didn't do so well on that one either, because it's leagues and leagues and leagues of corruption that's so deep down that it's really hard for, every AG and everybody to get to the root of it. I mean, look how fucked up it is. You've got like Mississippi just put away somebody who took $4 million from the Medicaid fund for poor people and elderly people in Mississippi. There was a person,
the Medicaid fund that they did not want to expand, by the way.
Regina Thomas, whoever you are, you're going to jail for 5 years. And, you know, it's like, really? All of that? We have really created we don't believe in giving each other the best. We don't want people to have nice things. And we'd rather hoard it. That's why there's a bunch of damn hoarders. That's not a great mindset for a national bunch of people, but it now makes sense. You got this crazy, you know, it's everywhere we see. Rich people are crumbling. Kanye West has all the money of like what, the world, and he can barely, you know, he's just, you know, falling apart. There's everybody.
He got a PPP loan.
Yeah, another one who got a PPP loan.
Yep.
And yet people who really needed it. And you know, we have rich people who get upset about it, and there's people who literally have no water. And they say, "Oh, but you can take a shower in it." I'm sorry, what part of water
but did you hear? They said don't open your mouth.
The advisory is not to shower with. It's not to shower in it. They're telling them boil the water before you shower in it, because you got.
I heard an advisory that said they could take a shower, but keep your mouth shut.
Keep your mouth shut. That's what I heard.
And I was like, we know that things absorb into our skin. It can make us sick if I put on a cream that I'm allergic to. So what's the difference between toxic water going on my body?
Exactly. And let me just let my kid go in there. Baby, don't open your mouth. Come on now.
There was this one woman I saw on MSNBC, and she was saying how, she's like, I'm so scared, I'm even boiling the bottled water. Because she's like, some of the water she's getting is like locally sourced.
Well, you know, then now she's going too far. Just buy the water from, buy something else, you know. Then the news goes and does stuff like that. We don't need to hear the women, everybody who's unraveling too. I'm going to boil that. Then you have a higher gas bill. It's like, that's pointless. The point is also these people needed to be out voting. It's really important.
But there's the other side of this is, remember, Mississippi is one of those places that in some of those districts where the Black populations do vote, they shut down like 95% of the polling places.
And so that can never be changed, and they need to figure it out. I mean, Aisha, we cannot keep bringing, you know.
It can't get changed, but let me tell you something.
God.
But let me tell you something. The state, the different places in the state are so spread out that if you don't have adequate transportation, and remember, there's a state that doesn't have really good public transportation either, like most other states.
That's the whole of America.
Yeah, but
you can't hit every crisis at the same time. And let me
but if your closest polling place is 40 miles away and you don't have any transportation, you can't take the bus to get there, you don't have a car, and the cost of an Uber you can't afford, how are people going to get to the polls?
Guess what? I mean, there's plenty of groups.
And remember, they stopped them from doing mail-in voting.
Okay, well then they should just like give up and not live anymore. Okay, I mean, what are we supposed?
I'm not saying that, but I say we have to understand the challenges. We have to understand. We have to be realistic.
Why? There's advocacy groups. There's white kids all the time going down in groups trying to like get these people to do things. There's a little bit of onus on it for them too.
Did in Atlanta. Come on now.
You mean their mayor didn't know?
Atlanta's also a city. More than 80% of Mississippi is rural.
Please, I mean, Laurel, Mississippi is an up and coming, thriving little town. Their HGTV has been doing some really interesting things with many communities that are basically dead because it's a mayor's job to start bringing in money to a community. I hope these mayors understand that. That's what you're being elected for, to generate and regenerate stuff. But sadly, people could drive all the way from Florida, all the way up to Pennsylvania and find dead towns where the hospital is 80 miles away, where there's nothing there, where the Chinese are actually going in and buying towns. They're buying towns for their people to come and live. I mean, the mayor's jobs are to bring in commerce. That's what it's about. And I get it. But these damn pipes didn't just fall apart yesterday. They've been like that. And I just really would have to see the memos completely to see they're all at fault on this. They're all at fault.
Okay.
Because they've been letting these people live like this for a long ass time, and it's been wrong.
All right, let's move on to our next conversation piece.
Because, by the way, the mayor's sister was, oh yeah, my water problem is fine. She's living in the nicer part of town.
Okay, let's go. The first Alaskan Indigenous member of Congress has been elected. Significant moment?
More importantly, she beat Sarah Palin.
Oh,
For
yes.
now. Remember, they've got to run again in November because this is just temporary.
Whose seat
was a
did she
special
take
election.
again?
Huh?
Whose seat did she take again? Somebody. He was older, right? He'd had the seat for 50 years, right?
Yeah, he was a Republican. That's the other thing. The other thing, it was the first time a Democrat took that seat in 50 years, and it's the only congressional seat that the state of Alaska has. You know, mostly all the other states, pretty much have more than one. Alaska just has the one Congress member. So she'll be in, and then November she'll run again, and they do that ranked voting again. So Sarah Palin is going to be her rival in the November election.
How does she get to run? I wanted to ask you this. Why is she able to run again?
Because they can't stop her legally.
Really?
No.
Oh.
Yeah, Alaska laws are very different the way they do their elections. So yeah, so they're going to be doing this, as Jill said.
Yeah, because remember she was governor. She's governor first. I mean, she never ran for Congress, but running for Congress, it's like, because there's no term limits or anything, there's nothing keeping people from running. It's like Mark Sanford, after being a disgraced governor in South Carolina, ended up becoming a congressman.
Mary Peltola. Yes. Well, actually, it's so funny. They say that Boris Johnson is planning on running again for prime minister.
I saw that. I saw that.
No, but she is. You know what?
People are shameless.
She's a very unique candidate in that she's pro-choice, but she's also pro-gun. But anti-violence, gun violence. So she's a very unique candidate, and I think that the ranked choice definitely helped her, because the two Republicans really split the vote there. Not only that, they were so focused on outdoing each other's crazy that she was able to make better connections with the people. And that is going to be...
That's impressive.
That is very impressive, yes. And so it's going to be interesting to see their November election, if people come back out and vote her in again. And
fingers crossed.
Yeah, it's going to be that. And here's the thing. The crazier Sarah Palin sounds, the better it is for her, because Sarah Palin is like, the more
she's her and Trump on the same.
No, she's the original Trump in politics.
Yeah.
Remember,
yeah, she is. It's like, but then she went through that where it was like she was working in like she had a meth lab in her house, which was kind of like weird. Sarah Palin.
She was so bad that Nicole Wallace, while running McCain's campaign, right? John McCain's campaign.
Yeah. How did she do that?
Her and Steve Schmidt decided they were not going to vote. They didn't vote.
Oh, wow.
That year, because they could not see her being one step away from the presidency.
Oh, that's crazy.
That's saying something. That was saying something.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
I hope she wins. I hope she still garners that support, because some people like to sleep during these little primaries, and they just think that, oh, it's fine, I don't need to do this. But let's hope that the other side doesn't get mad enough to come in and unseat her.
And
I think people know this election is serious.
The one thing they're not talking about that I want to see, and I want information on, because I think it'd be interesting, is how much of the Alaskan Indigenous population came out to vote compared to previous times, because I think that really made a difference in the vote. And I think that's going to continue to make a difference, because remember, Alaskan Natives feel very isolated and left out in Alaska. It's, they still hold on to their traditions, and they are very they're very politically involved, and I want to know how much of that vote, how much that vote made a difference, because I really think that it did. I mean, for so long they were disenfranchised voters, and I think that this is really important.
Good point. Good point. Good point. Well, they'll be doing it all again in a few months, so should be interesting. And we are going to finish off today's episode. It's done. The end of Serena Williams' career, allegedly. So,
yeah, she might come back.
Did anyone watch the match? Any part of it?
I did.
I saw some of it. Yeah.
I did, and they made a real big to do, and she's had some remarkable achievements in it, and it was definitely, it was time. It needed to happen. She did well, but it's always very difficult to see a bunch of people who'd never watched tennis all of a sudden talking about tennis and being experts on something that they have nothing, like, oh, she beat the number 2 seed. And you're like, yeah, but the girl who's number 2 really wasn't a power hitter, because we've had so many changes with COVID, particularly. And also, let's not forget, a lot of players weren't playing in Wimbledon because of, if they were Russian, they weren't allowed to. So it really changed a lot of who's who was really there. So, I mean, I'm just happy that, all the hoopla and the Hollywood part of it is over. I don't like that part of it. I just, I think there will be other great people. There's other kids doing amazing things. There's still Margaret Court, who contributed so much to women's tennis. We still have some amazing young girls who are still doing it. Coco Gauff, I think, is amazing, and a wonderful spirit and energy of the new young Gen Z kids. And I like what's coming. They are very respectful to their opponents when they play. They are gracious. They speak about them. In this whole macho, I'm number one, that kind of stuff, that's phasing out. I'm curious what's coming next. I don't know if we're going to be the kind of world that's going to really have what we have had with this, the best of all time. I think it's definitely the energy shifting.
I just think that it's a well-deserved retirement. She's been doing this for a long time.
True.
And the pundits and people that keep saying, well, she shouldn't retire, shouldn't. No, look, she's been doing this. She's been doing this since she was in the single digits. Yeah. It's time. Let the woman go. Let her be happy and, have life.
Oh, no, I don't know if she wants to go. She said she might come back. I think.
Yeah, I saw that too. But you know what? Jay-Z also said he retired and came back too. But I think that
she won't be able to do this.
No, but I think for right now, just
sports is different.
Give her flowers and let her just enjoy the retirement.
Oh, she's going to make sure. I was watching ESPN made a fortune off of it.
Yeah, and I was watching people on Twitter saying, "Oh, she's leaving because of this, because of that." Hell, she just might be tired. Period.
Right. Well, we're not allowed to be that, Aisha.
Right. That's a lot. I mean, that's a lot of stress, a lot of strain on your body.
Yeah.
She can't. She hasn't won a Grand Slam in a couple years. There's no way.
True.
It's over. Look, and the humiliation. I mean, she just really can't be that person staying too long at the fair. It's just was getting Dr. Vibe, and I kept talking about it it's time to go to the light. It's like, yeah.
And she just recently turned 40. The day you turn 40, and tell you this for all you people who are not 40 yet.
You're going to be 41.
You wake up. You wake up, and your body, the warranty on your body has expired. Everything hurts. Everything.
Well,
so that's where she is right now.
I'll make it short and sweet, and people have heard what I said. One of the greatest athletes I've ever seen, bar none. Male, female, period. Incredible mindset, etc. But to me, the last few years of her career have been embarrassing. She's been beaten bad at times, right? And it showed. And this is just me. I couldn't handle the queen on the shoes and the diamonds in her hair when she was playing. That just didn't rub me the right way. It almost was like a commodity. It wasn't really paying attention to her. It was a commodity thing. So Serena, respect you, great athlete, etc. I think you should have done this a year and a half ago, to be honest with you. This is just my opinion, at least a year ago, because you weren't like, you were getting beat by people and being beat consistently. So, but again, it's different if you're in the heat of the moment, as you're an athlete and she has a lot of pride, etc. More power to her. I hope she doesn't come back.
I mean, you know, sports is different because like a musician can be very old, but the minute a musician is standing up there and can't remember their lyrics or their whatever, and they're shuffling across, you don't want to see that. You want to see people in their collaborations or partnerships. Still, you know, but sports is not that way. Sports.
Not only that, she even said in, I don't know what night it was, that if I would have played more, I may have done better. And she would just again,
but see, I found that to be a little bit rude to the girl Aisha who beat her, because the really crazy thing is that girl has never been above 50 in the rankings ever. So you're talking about ever. So, and I really thought the crowds at the US Open were the most disgusting crowds I've ever seen. Short of Australia had some really bad ones. It must be just English-speaking countries have just become the most rudest, obnoxious people. I don't really like the part is if somebody makes a great shot and it's not me or it's the other person, I really do think that a respectful audience should applaud for that too. I really think there's some great people, because greatness cannot exist on its own. It happens because of other elements together. But what happened is that girl beat Serena Williams, which was pretty fucking amazing. And nobody said anything. And Serena didn't really say her name, but like I basically alluded to the fact that if she'd have played more, she would have beaten her. And I got to say, no, you wouldn't have.
Well,
but I found it a little bit not gracious to be like on your way out the door and you still talking like, you know, but that's what it is. You know, it's a very masculine energy thing that I just don't find interesting.
I'll just finish off in saying what the two things that I think made Serena great when she was in her zone, not only her physical power, but her mental power.
Why? If you're slamming if you're hitting the ball, like you're the guy from the Fantastic Four.
But I just say, but her mental focus was always good. But again, too many distractions, and she isn't what she's, and she knew that. But let's put it this way: the mental energy that she took to stay as long as she did on top, she couldn't keep that even when she's playing players half her age. That takes even more mental energy because she didn't have the same physical stamina as she had before, and that she needed to go on those mental reserves that maybe not be there. But that's just me. We're done with Serena. Ladies, thank you for another epic conversation. And also one other thing, everybody, Lala is part of the family now. She ain't special guest anymore. I was going to say that at the beginning, but she is part of the family now. So Lala, we are happy to have you on board.
And I'm happy to be here.
Good.
Now you got to change the name again.
And we're not going to cut your state off until you escape, right?
He'll get me out first.
All right. Well, thanks everybody again for watching live. And as always, we'd like to have our friends, our stars, share their contact information. So first up, the new member of the family.
You can find me at Realty Goddess on all platforms. Type in my name, Lala Key. You're going to get Realty Goddess anyway. So come on and
you'll see her doing things like this. And she's very active on social media. Next up, Jill D.
Jill D. Jones, Twitter, and Jill Jones Music and Instagram.
There you go. And Aisha K. Staggers.
Aisha Staggers on Twitter. That's the best way.
Short and sweet. You can catch myself, all these things at the bottom. Website, email. Oh, I better put myself back on. That's interesting. All right. Put myself back on. Website, email, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. So thank you to everyone who watched another Epic Conversation live on the replay or listened to it on replay. And as always, thank you, Jen. Great conversation as always. Thank you so much, so much, so much. So, as always, we end off with this. Live your life as a dream. If you can dream it, you can make it. Sometimes you have to get smaller, get stronger. Block assumptions and aim bigger, aim better, aim higher, aim wider. And wherever you're watching this, please subscribe. I believe we're going to be coming back on Saturdays. We're going to start doing Saturdays all over again. So thank you so much for taking the time to watch this live, watch it on the replay, or to listen on the replay, or to listen to it live. So live your life as a dream. If you can dream it, you can make it. Sometimes you have to get stronger to get smaller. Block assumptions and aim bigger, aim better, aim higher, aim wider. Love, faith, and respect. Remember to give yourselves grace, and don't just manage your time, manage your energy. And we will see you next Saturday night, 9 p.m. Eastern Time, 6 p.m. Pacific. God bless. Peace, well, keep the faith, and walk good.